Hello, this is the initial spring flood outlook for the 2017 season, issued by the National Weather Service in La Crosse on Thursday, February the 16th. Our second spring flood outlook will be released on Thursday, March the 2nd. An overview for this video includes the overall risk this spring, which calls for slightly above normal risks along the Mississippi River and some of the tributaries in Wisconsin mainly. We'll go over some of the factors contributing to this year's flood risk, look at some long-range probabilistic outlooks for the spring, and again remind you that if we do see some flooding, the amount of flooding will depend on the rate of snowmelt, any ice that's left on area rivers, and additional precipitation. So looking at that initial flood outlook, we're calling for a slightly above normal flood risk along the Mississippi River main stem and some of the tributaries on the Wisconsin side. But tributaries on the Minnesota and Iowa side, we're looking at just near normal flood risks for this spring. Graphically, here are the areas kind of highlighted with slightly above normal risks, again along the Mississippi, the Wisconsin tributaries, including the Wisconsin River. Some of the contributing factors this spring include the existing snowpack, or what's left of it, including any water equivalent in that snowpack, and that is causing a lower than normal risk for this spring. But some of the factors that could raise the flooding risk include the wet, saturated soils that we have been experiencing, the relatively high river levels for this time of year, and future precipitation. Some of those factors that are always kind of wild cards in this outlook include frost depths, how fast we do see melting conditions, and any ice that's left on area rivers. As far as looking back a little bit, as we remember, in the later summer and fall of 2016, we saw nearly record rainfall amounts, 125 to 200% of normal, and this left many area rivers unusually high during the cold season. Going into January, again, above normal precipitation was a common theme that experienced many area rivers to go back up and stay elevated, and this has led to already wet conditions across the region, including if you look at our soil moisture conditions, which are basically in the 95 to 99 percentile, in other words, very high across southern Minnesota, western Wisconsin, and far northern Iowa. This could lead to more rapid runoff, especially if we do receive heavier rainfall this spring. The snow conditions have been a little bit below normal for the last 30 days, and looking at our overall snow depth region-wide, most of the snowpack is locked up into parts of northern Wisconsin and northern Minnesota. A little more specifically around our area, here's a look at snow depths, which are all pretty much centered on the lower numbers here, anywhere from a trace to as little as 6 inches. And if you look at the equivalent water that is in that snowpack, again, we're looking at very light amounts relatively, with most areas just an inch or two at most with water left in that snowpack. Also, the good news is if you look in parts of central Minnesota, there's very little, if any, snowpack or any water equivalent left over. As far as the temperatures we've been seeing, while December saw near normal temperatures, as many of us remember, January and February we've been seeing above normal temperatures, and this has led to a lot of that snow melting away and lowering our overall risk. Now, looking at short-term weather concerns, we do have some very warm temperatures for this time of year expected at least over the next several days through the weekend of February 18th and 19th, and this will melt a lot of the existing snowpack away. And then looking at the latter half of February, a lot of the computer models are kind of hinting that there could be a Midwest storm that could bring us some more precipitation, so something worth keeping an eye out for. You can see some of this in the 6 to 10 day outlooks with above normal temperatures and that signal for above normal precipitation. Again, worth keeping an eye out for. Again, warm conditions in the 8 to 14 day outlook as well with above normal rain chances. So let's look at some of those forecasts and probabilistic outlooks. Starting with the risk of reaching the different flood levels, most of the areas with the green squares are pretty much at near normal risk of any flooding. The sites that are in the orange squares are a little slightly higher chance for flooding, where you might expect some minor flooding to occur. But again, this could change depending on how factors play out for the rest of the spring. Looking at some longer range probabilistic outlooks along the Mississippi River, these are a little bit tricky to read, but basically the closer the two lines are, the more normal the expected snowmelt is going to be. The blue circles are the historical chances of flooding at different levels, and the black triangles are what this year's conditions exist. So as you can see in Wabasha and Winona here, the lines are very close together, and as we get into the flood stages, the black triangles actually dip a little bit below what historically could occur. At La Crosse, Wisconsin and Lansing, Iowa, again, kind of near normal conditions expected along the way. And as we go to the lower stems of the Mississippi River in our area, McGregor and Guttenberg, again, not much difference between the historical and the 2017 predictions here. A little bit different when you start looking at some of the tributaries in western Wisconsin. On the Black River at Galesville, the two lines here are almost identical, meaning a very near normal type flood risk. But as we look at parts of southwest Wisconsin on the Kickapoo River at Gays Mills, you can see how the black triangles are above or on top of the blue circles, which basically means that the chances for flooding in 2017 are slightly above what historically is experienced. So as a summary, again, today the biggest factor to watch out for any flooding will be future precipitation, especially with the current high water levels that are out there in most areas. Near normal to slightly above normal potential exists for spring flooding, and that's especially true along the Mississippi River and the tributaries in Wisconsin. The shallow frost depth but high soil moisture could lead to more runoff if we do see spring rainfall and add to our flooding concerns. Here are some additional information sources, ways to track river levels, check on later outlooks, and overall monitor conditions around the area.